Speaking of Marvel and Spider-Man and all that, we got news this week that I have mixed feelings about. Marvel and Electronic Arts have signed a 3-game deal that's going to be starting with the Iron Man game that's in the works from EA Motive. This is a deal that's going to go on for 10 years. And I just feel like the last time we heard about EA getting a 10-year deal for a beloved intellectual property was with Star Wars. And I guess I don't have a good feeling about this. Perhaps I even have a bad feeling about this.
Max, Battlefront was so good.
Yeah. I don't, they could have just like, I would have preferred we got ambitious shovelware than just like these sort of over nitpicked things that wound up being like for everybody and nobody at once.
Let's be real. Like, so EA does have some very talented studios under their belt. Like, they're not all great. Like, a lot of studios have these underperformers and they have their overperformers. Respawn is one of those overperformers, I would say, at EA.
Yes.
Apex Legends, Jedi Fallen Order. Respawn knows what they're doing when it comes to making these very engaging, story-driven games.
Respawn like pulls up in a backwards chair with like a backwards head, like, "Hey, I'm not like those other Electronic Arts."
Exactly. And so I'm really excited for this EA Marvel deal, as long as Respawn gets to make a game. There's also, we had Anthem, which bombed because of just, the tail end problems and not supporting the game.
I mean, they already made half an Iron Man game right
exactly.
there. So, yeah.
So, like, there is this... I am cautiously optimistic about this deal, is the best way I can put it.
The good news is there's nothing to be worried about because it's not an exclusive deal. Like, Insomniac is still obviously making Wolverine and Spider-Man 2, and there are probably other studios out there doing stuff that I forgot got announced. But
you got the Amy Hennig, Black Panther, Captain America game.
Yeah. So I mean, it's if anything, this is cool because this means we're going to get more Marvel stuff across the board, and it's also it's going to be big AAA Marvel stuff, which we've seen this thing kind of brewing slowly, where like there was a cool minute there where like Marvel games sucked.
For a long time.
Like, there's a lot of really bad Marvel games out there, and it's taken some time to sort of rein all that stuff in. And we just Spider-Man is like a very good kind of beginning to that. But like, I feel like DC kind of had a little bit of a head start on them with the Arkham games, which were doing their own thing. But
outside of the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, what was your favorite like Marvel game? If you like look back at the lens, like PS3, PS4.
I love the High Moon Studios Deadpool game.
Okay.
It also was one of those games that was like it was a very charming 7. Like it totally had the feeling of like this should have been in the oven for like another 6 months. But it was that did some just wonderfully like very Deadpool-y stuff. There was a part where like you started a mission and like it's a third-person shooter, and like Deadpool starts walking, and it's one of those things where it comes out of a cutscene, and he starts walking, and like the camera stays put, and he turns around, he's like, "Are you coming?" And so you like follow him, and it's like it was just like little cute fourth wall breaky thing like that. But I don't know, that was a good one.
How about you, Akeem?
I'd have to say, well, I guess it was the games that kind of that spawned the Ultimate Alliance series and the X-Men, the early X-Men games.
Oh, the X-Men Legends.
Yeah, the X-Men Legends
Those
games.
Were good.
I would have to say that. I mean, I mentioned this actually last time I was on the show. Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. I was a huge fan of that game. But I mean, I don't know. I'm really excited to see what they're doing with this Iron Man game because I mean, I played that VR game, the Iron Man VR game. I wasn't a big fan of it. I'm a big proponent for VR. I have 2 MetaQuests just lying about here, and I'm definitely looking forward to like jumping into some Marvel games, not in VR, just getting back into the saddle as Iron Man. I would love to see what they're working on regarding that.
That was such a cool idea. I think there's an odd disconnect of character-based games in first person, where like obviously it's cool to be in Iron Man's armor, and there's very much like sort of a simulation angle, especially with doing the the hand stuff with the controllers. But I think it's also something very like toyetic about being able to see the character you're playing as, which I don't know, if Spider-Man was in first person, that would be Vomit City, but also like and you're kind of like, I want to see Spider-Man.
Wasn't there like a mod, or like, didn't we see a VR version of Spider-Man, Josh?
I don't know if it was VR. They did a first person.
That's
Spider-Man
what it was.
mod. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's exactly what you think it is.
Vomit inducing.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite Marvel game looking back?
Yeah, I had trouble remembering like any. I was like more of a DC guy growing up than Marvel, but I have vivid memories of renting the Spider-Man 2 like movie game from Blockbuster. I don't even think I had I don't think I knew that I needed a memory card, so I'd always rent it and just start over every time, and I was just like, this is so much fun. Like it was great. Like that's like the last like Marvel game I can think of that I was like, yeah, I love video games.
You know, one that really, I wouldn't call it my favorite, but one that really kind of was a solid showing was the Captain America game for the PS3 and 360.
Yeah, that was like that was the tie-in for the movie, right?
It was a tie-in for the movie. It had the combat very similar to Arkham, and I think that's why it worked so well. Is because the gameplay was great, the story was fine, whatever. It wasn't like a blockbuster, like, oh my god, you need to go play this Captain America game. But it was probably the best showing for Captain America that I've ever had in a game. And I think that's even with the new Marvel Avengers. Like, I really enjoyed playing as Cap. And Cap has never been one of my favorite characters. And so for me to pick up this game and play it, and I was like, this is actually kind of decent. So, don't rush out and play it. But, if you get a chance, put a couple hours in Captain America and see if you like it.
The weird issue with superhero games in general is that every power has to be a mechanic, basically.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you're doing a team, you pretty much are spreading yourself thin, which I think is why like Spider-Man and Batman work so well, because they can just refine one character.
Yep.
That's part of the problem that, Avengers had with that. And I think it's some of the best ones that do that take that approach have like a much different scale, like Ultimate Alliance and Lego Marvel Superheroes is one of the most that's one of the best Marvel games, period. Like, it's just the amount of characters in there and the amount of stuff they do with them is really impressive. And it also managed to squeak by and do a bunch of like they had X-Men and Spider-Man and Avengers all in the same game, and it felt like breaking some kind of rule to have them all playing together in the same Sam. And then the second game took out basically all the Fox properties, which was kind of dumb. But yeah, I don't know. Like, what do you want to see out of this EA thing aside from Iron Man?
Man, I don't know. That's a good question.
I kind of said I want Respawn to tackle something. I want to see Respawn tackle Daredevil. I would like to see Respawn do that. I think their third person.
He does wall run.
He does wall run. I was like kind of racking my brain, like which third person like character. I would like to see them. I would like, they've got that experience when it comes to the Titanfall series. I think they've got a really good knack for melee combat when it comes to Jedi Fallen Order, and I think that would be a premium expertise when it comes to making a Daredevil game where your character is blind. So like the combat has to be done like, it has to be an 11 out of 10 on the combat, like, because that's what Daredevil's about, and the old Daredevil games just really didn't do that. So I completely forgot about this old Daredevil game.
Yeah, I was just pulling that up. I remember like reading previews for this a million years ago, and it was I think it was one of the first games that did that, like basically Arkham detective vision, which makes way more sense in the case of Daredevil, because he's like, I get this and Predator Concrete Jungle mixed up. Because they're both involve like a dude who can go into heat vision more or less, or has like jumping around.
We're gonna have a lot of Predator.
We don't need to start talking about Predator
next week.
We have some Predator stuff in store. Daredevil's a great example, because that's a character who is, again, it's one character.
Yeah.
Fairly like, I think doing like any game where you're like, oh, you're like telekinetic psychic who can also fly, like doing like a Phoenix game would be like a mess.
Oh, that would be be too much.
Yeah, but like Daredevil, like he throws.
But if anybody was going to try it, it would be EA. They would try it. Punisher as a shooter, I think our producer dropped that in here. That is, I think, We do just Max Payne.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, with the skull on the shirt. I don't know. That's one of those, IPs that obviously Disney's not really quite sure what to do with the Punisher, which made sense in Netflix. But I think, making an M-rated video game, pretty much fair game over there. Makes sense.
Yeah, I could see that.
We're looking at some images of the Punisher here, doing punishing stuff. I don't know.
Beautiful. Like, I was gonna say, the reason why I loved Ultimate Alliance is because it brought together so many different characters into one game. I would love to see them. This is probably, I'm just shooting for the stars here, or for the moon, whichever one. Like, I would love to see them kind of like tackle like some of the big Marvel events, like, Civil War, the Secret Wars, or something like that. I don't know if it'll ever happen.
That's just Fortnite, dude. Secret War was like the original Secret War was totally just like the first battle royale, where just a bunch of characters were arbitrarily dropped into this area and forced to fight each other for reasons that didn't really make sense.
Yep.
And then Spider-Man got a new costume. Again, my producer's just like dropping Super Smash Brothers version of Secret Wars. Yeah,
There you go.
we have like Marvel versus Capcom, which is pretty much that. Like, that's a very, very good.
There was that one Marvel game, that Marvel fighting game. I forget what it was called.
It was in. It was.
They had all
started
these
with
extra characters in it. Yeah.
Like, was it Inhumans? Was it like the Inhumans or something?
Masters of the Terras Kasi.
I know which one you're talking about, because it like used like that green font and stuff like that.
Yes.
We're experts, I swear.
Nemesis, Rise of the Imperfects.
Imperfects is what it was.
They had all these. They added like half the roster as these like original characters. The only one I remember was Johnny Ohm, because he had electric powers, and ohm is a measure of electricity. So that's really cool, right?
Here's your science tip for the day, everybody.
There you go.
There was that one of the last. I guess it was probably the last X-Men game that came out for consoles. Was it Silicon Knights?
The X-Men Destiny or whatever.
Yep. Where it was like you got to play as one of 3 original characters they created just for the video game, and you get to hang out with all your favorite characters instead of playing as them.
It's always such an interesting idea when these studios try to take and put you in this world and let you create your own thing. It's kind of like, it's cool, but you're so limited by the developers' imaginations. It's like trying to make a Green Lantern game. You know what I mean? Like, which I think they did.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, oh, I would do this and this and this with the ring, but like, oh, the developers didn't think of this. So
I mean, the best Green Lantern game is Scribblenauts.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Exactly.
That is the best Green Lantern game.
You can't do anything else with that. Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. More Marvel games is fun. I like them. I like them superheroes, and it's also, I don't know. It's a nice change of pace from the MCU. Like, it's a sort of different timeline there.
Yeah.